All right,
Yes, it's working.
we're doing the Flux Dev Meeting. Today is Thursday, June 26th for me. Is that the same thing for you, Matthias?
Yep.
Yeah, what about you, Augie? Also Thursday, June 26th?
Yep, absolutely.
Great, our clocks are in sync. We've solved distributed timekeeping. I guess topics for today. One of the things could be the
Yeah,
HRSA, behavior regression
yeah. Let's talk about that. So,
that
um,
from our fix. Are there other topics that we are gonna also want to hit?
not for me. I mean, I can give some updates. Nothing that, not. I mean, we can probably discuss the things we were talking about in the meeting, right? You can probably drive. I mean, the cert, secret handling, the
active refactoring for loading of MTLS,
yeah. Also the
CA,
thing about the
and
ham release.
proxy secrets.
Yeah.
Then yeah, it would be good to make sure on the dev call that we have a record of sort of beginning discussions for controller terminal states or stalled states and potentially stalled states across all of Flux ecosystem. And specifically, there is a max retries, exhausted, not reconciling changes to values from object map secret. And then you also brought up the case where potential changes to templating behavior or templating in, is that image update automation?
Yes, image update automation. Yeah.
Um, and whether stalled states make sense there. Cool. That's a couple of pretty good topics to discuss. Anything else?
On your x-rays.
We hit those things, that'd probably
There's a
be
history of.
good.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, well, definitely the SSHRSA regression. It's a good one to get active
Yeah.
notes for anybody reading or watching the recording. What do you want to chat about on this, Matthias?
Yeah, just give the update of what's happened and how we're dealing with it. So basically in Flux 2.6.2 patch release, we released a fix for an issue in source controller and also image automation controller, since they share the same code base. For cloning with SSH in Git about the key mismatch error, right? We had a regression in Go Git, and then that was resulting in this key mismatch error, and then we fixed. We shipped a fix in Flux 2.6.2 to fix that. So the fix was about supporting like to basically to be able to properly use the host keys from the configuration against what the server is offering. So that PR actually caused, just came to our attention that that PR actually caused another regression. And that is how like, and specifically happening for Azure DevOps with SSH. So the error is that now the client is offering SSH RSA host key algorithm, and the server only supports the Azure DevOps SSH server only has RSA SHA 2 512 and RSA SHA 2 256. And so this is the error message, and then we found out that these two algorithms that the Azure DevOps SSH server is offering are just algorithms. They are not formats. And because of that, the Go library doesn't expose like keys that are using those algorithms in the way we would expect, which is through these names. And what we're doing is to fix this is we are checking if there's RSA, like SSH dash RSA in the host keys supported by the client, the ones that are configuring the secret used by Flux. If that is present, we also add the other two as supported algorithms for the host key negotiation. And that works. I have already tested that fix. I am now working on adding an integration test to the package repo where that code lives to test this use case with Azure DevOps SSH authentication, which would have caught that this regression if we had this test before. So we are fixing it and adding the test so it doesn't happen again. By the way, it's probably interesting to note that we did have that test in the Flux 2 repo as an integration test for Azure. We didn't catch the problem because the integration tests for Azure in that repo were disabled as a result of we no longer having an account in Azure for the test to run. So when that happened, we disabled the integration tests everywhere. And recently, when we re-enabled the integration test, we only did that for the package repo, not the Flux 2 repo. That repo doesn't have tests, so it wasn't caught. And we'll have to release a patch again for Flux 2.6.3 with this fix. That's it. The last section.
I can see it. There's not much difference between a corporate government and organized crime. You're right. The only way that this could unfold, if there's someone on the inside who's orchestrating things, you'll never tell me I'm right. They only say I'm crazy. Love you, man. What the hell are you doing? You're driving. Cool.
Well, I took a couple notes on this. What's the PR?
Make sure there's backup.
That fixes this.
It's package 954. Let me paste the link in the doc.
PG pull 594.
954.
Oh, 954. Draft for supporting SHA-2 512 and 256. Okay. And we can that's in there. Cool. probably move from that topic. Resolution is that we're going to be patching and releasing this behavior. I think my only question about this patch is just it would be nice if there was some way for us to automatically deal with formats versus algos. But I am guessing that we looked at other SSH client implementations and this is how it's done. So that just makes me sad that it's hard coded like that.
Paulo, the maintainer of GoGit, said they would implement this in GoGit 6.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So we don't have to do that ourselves anymore.
I guess I can.
Yeah.
That's fine. Cool. Next topic is the ongoing refactoring for loading of MTLS, CA, and proxy secrets. Guess yeah. If anyone wants to see how this convo started, this happened in Slack, in the Flux contributors public channel, where we basically found that there's some non-uniform usage of reading secrets from the Kube API across FluxCD repos and controllers, and places where we support MTLS requires using the TLS config struct from the Go standard lib, and we're just not doing it in a very uniform way. So we sort of had a chat about how to support pluggable CA certificate chains, MTLS, and proxy HTTP proxy configurations in a more standard way across the project, and that was picked up by what's this person's GitHub handle, Mateus? I've been away
Wait,
this
what?
week, and you've been supporting the contributor who picked this up.
The handle?
Yeah,
Kapizawa with 2 P's and the and Y. CAPPY without the I, just the Y.
something
Yeah,
like this.
yeah.
Yeah, just thanks to Kapizawa for picking this up. Our combo and starting the necessary library and refactoring. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. And feel free to, if you want to know more about this, to hop on to the GitHub issues or pop in the Flux contributors channel. I guess the only other thing with this is we are looking to make behavior more uniform, behavior and support and implementation more uniform across Flux, and that includes support of some deprecated keys.
Yeah.
In places where they don't currently work. When I think we're just planning to support those for forever. So third topic of the meeting would be that it's come up chatting with some users that the new implementation of the Helm controller from last year has these terminal states, which can be surprising for some end users. One case that people are running into is when Helm controller reaches a max failure count of the retries. When it exhausts retries, you'll see a log message reconciling your Helm release from your Helm controller that the Helm release is stalled. It's entering a stalled state. And the intention here with the refactor of the controller state machine is that for hitting the retry max, that we would no longer queue the Helm release at all. The stalled state means that Helm controller will never consider the Helm release at its current spec. If the observed generation and the resource version of the object changes, the spec changes, then the controller will pick that up and start working on it again, and that's when the stalled state is reset. There is an edge case here where people who are loading values from config maps and secrets, which is quite common, could enter a stalled state, and then changes to the values in the config map and secrets will not propagate to a spec change, and so things will just not be reconciled. Even though there is a value changing, there's nothing that's telling Kubernetes that this object has changed from a Helm release standpoint, and so Helm controller can't figure out that it's time to uninstall and reset this release. This is currently a behavior by design in Flux, just having conversations on whether or not this could be considered a bug or a regression or not. Since in older versions of the controller and older versions of the API, this would still work, but now it does not. But there are potentially some things that we can do here. For anybody who is affected by this right now, if you can, then one way to fix it is use a config map generator, which will include the hash of the config map's name inside of the values from field by name, which will be a spec change for the Helm release. We understand that not everybody can use a config map generator. Does not help for config maps with different lifecycle, say those managed by Terraform or something. But what you can do in this case is just issue a reconcile at annotation, and that will force the controller to reconcile. It'll force the controller to reconcile your Helm release, even if it's in a stalled state. You can also restart the controller, which will populate the entire informer list and force reconcile everything. This could potentially affect as well some of the things we were considering with the image update automation API, as we're looking at graduating those, or at least moving them to more stable API versions. And in general, this could sort of be a topic about whether or not stalled states are appropriate and safe for us to implement across the project. Obviously, we've made an intentional decision to merge these in controllers that are supporting generally available APIs. But this is something to be very careful about in the programming model. In general, the expectation in Kubernetes is that things will eventually converge over at least a reasonably long period of time. And having places where, our very stable software actually intentionally does not promise and stops working on objects. So I think we might need to be looking at this a little bit more carefully to find ways to more safely implement behaviors that reduce API requests and things for things that fail often, but still are able to recover when inputs change. I kind of ranted through that, but if Augie or Mateus, if you have any comments or want to add your input on it, this is kind of the only other item I had.
Yeah, no, Well, we already discussed about this, right? So I'm with you. I think like we have to be very careful of when we reach final states in the controllers. And if there's something that can happen asynchronously that will allow reconciliation to be successful, then the error should not be reaching a final state in the controller. So I agree with that.
There was also sort of like the reasoning behind solid states, is
Excuse me.
trying to avoid expensive work. That is also potentially detrimental to the cluster user or the cluster. But some other alternatives could be to explore more uses of exponential backoff. Similar to pods with restart always, plus crash loop back off. And the new tunable feature gates for crash loop timing in Kube V133. So just some of the things to add some context there. That's pretty much everything that's going on this week in Flux development. Action items would probably be that you're working on patching PKG poll 954, I think was what it was.
Yes.
Yeah. For the, RSA SSH client regression.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think unless we have some other topics, we could probably convene. How's that feeling
Yep.
for everyone?
Yep.
Sounds good to me.
But yeah, fine by me also. Since I'm
Sweet.
only listening.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Just a quick and last question. Lee, you were speaking about Flux developers. How many people are actively developing Flux code at this point?
I mean, a control plane, we've got what? The three of
Oh,
us.
okay, they're all at control plane or what?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't read too much into. Yeah, at control plane we've got three people. And then
Mhm.
for instance, just somebody at
Do you mean like full time on it?
and
Full
then
time on it is just the three of us.
Deep T from Azure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, she does a lot of work. I don't think she works full time on Flux though. At least not upstream.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that
Yeah.
anybody at a public cloud can always work on. I should say that a lot of people at a public cloud are,
Yeah, but if you're asking
balancing.
like who is working full time on Flux, it's the three of us.
Mhm.
And then, we have Kapizawa just coming in, kind of new contributor, merging several patches. Kingdon helping with all of the community logistics. Tamo
Mhm.
every now and then checking.
Yeah, also not full time.
None of
He
these
has
people
his
work for a
own
control plane.
full time job at NASA.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a number of folks involved in regularly pushing pieces of the project forward, including code.
Okay.
That I would say are definitely not at control plane. Hida as well, at Acuity, also still helping with various dependencies. Yeah, Paolo from GoGet always collaborating with us.
Mm.
So
Mhm. Yeah.
um,
No, I just wanted to get an idea as to how large a community we are really talking about. Developing or active developers community, as it were.
yeah, I would say that's probably pretty, like, names we mentioned in this convo probably cover a decent
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
percentage of
Fair
folks
enough.
who are actively contributing. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you. Don't want to keep you any longer then.
Sure. All right. Awesome. Great meeting, friends.
All right.
Meet next week.
See you guys. Have a good day.
Bye. See you.
All right. Bye.